Perhaps he even dabbled in the usage of instant complete to really fudge the numbers. With a challenge like this, even using icon hack is enough to deem a completion illegitimate. We need all 10,000 of those completions to be legit. Now Master Genius, I know that you speed hacked a lot of these completions. You know that I know that you speed hacked a lot of these completions. I know that you know that I know that you speed hacked a lot of these completions. And you know what I propose is that in order to save your reputation, reset the counter all the way down to 0 and beat Stereo Madness 10,000 times without any hacks. That's a wrap on the Geometry Dash players who are most and least likely to be hackers. And if you enjoyed the video, please like the video and subscribe. If you didn't like the video, leave a comment down below telling me why. Click the button on screen to go check out my last video, and I'll see you guys there. Goodbye.
If you keep up with viral indie video games, I'm sure that at some point you've heard of the Impossible game. It's a short little rage game from 2009, and to say that it took the internet by storm would be an understatement. Despite the super simple premise of jumping over spikes, it topped charts everywhere and amassed millions of views on YouTube with almost no marketing. So naturally, other people wanted in on that success. And while shameless cash grab copies of video games are unfortunately pretty common in the gaming space, they typically don't end up doing very well. But what happened in this case was different. This is the story of how a greedy developer plagiarized the Impossible game, left it to rot, and got away with it. But first, some background information. The Impossible game was released in November of 2009 by an avid Newgrounds user named FlukeDude. According to an interview, he was working on a larger project called Sci-Fighters and needed a break, so he put this together in a single month and released it as an Xbox Live indie game for $1. Sorry, 80 Microsoft points. In the game, you control this red square that moves automatically and jumps whenever you tell it to. The goal is to get as far as possible without touching a spike or falling into a pit, because one mistake sends you all the way back to the start. And while it's not actually impossible, it might as well be because this game is brutal. Not only are you moving really fast, but there's tons of extremely difficult timings that you need to process and pull off in a fraction of a second. The game will trick you with fake paths, try to make you jump when you shouldn't, and worst of all, force you to clear 3 spikes in a row, which requires near-perfect reflexes. There's also a funky song playing in the background, and while none of the timings perfectly line up to the music, the incoming obstacles definitely match the energy of the song at that point. Overall, the Impossible game is a masterfully done rage game that's hard to drop because of the fast respawn times and constant drive to get further than you did before. And what's cool is that the game actually does have an end. If you can survive a minute and a half of this insanity, you'll be rewarded with confetti and a medal for beating the game. but the only realistic way to do this is through the game's practice mode, which lets you freely place checkpoints. According to FlukeDude, this was actually suggested by a playtester as a way to let people get further through the game instead of just repeating the beginning. But it should always be devalued, since it's not how the game was meant to be played. Okay, so I know what you're thinking about all of this. Yes, I did in fact say that the player is a red square. I know Fluke said that it was orange, but come on, that's only like the very center of it. And I know I'm colorblind, but the Impossible Game Wiki literally calls it the red square, so you can't take this away from me. The game had a pretty decent launch, but wasn't mainstream by any means, so more stuff was added over time. In April of 2010, it was ported to iPhone and the level was remade, though the option to play the Xbox version still existed. Since the original game was made in Microsoft's XNA framework, the port was actually remade in a completely different engine called Cocos 2D. A week later, a free light version was also created as a demo, and that version also ended up getting ported to Flash for Newgrounds, meaning the Impossible Game had now been made with 3 different engines. The game flew up the iTunes charts, going from top 100 to top 10 to top 3 to overtaking Doodle Jump, all in the span of like 3 days. And if you don't know what Doodle Jump is, I'm not going to explain it because that will make me feel sad and old. Riding on the success, and seeing that people were in fact beating the game, FlukeDude released Update 1.5 in September, which added 2 brand new levels with new music from Newgrounds and new gimmicks. As paid DLC, of course. Level 2 does the unthinkable and flips the screen upside down once the beat drops, forcing you to process tricky jumps while the game looks like this. And Level 3's beat drop reveals this cool visual effect of the blocks crumbling behind you, which seems harmless until it gets reversed halfway through the stage. Now everything pops up right in front of you, giving you so little time to react that you essentially need to memorize the entire section. It's absolutely insane. In fact, you could argue it's impossible. In 2011, the game had no major updates, but it was ported to Android by some guy named David. And a PlayStation port was also launched by a group named Grip Games. Since these were done by different people, I think it's safe to assume that these were also made in different game engines. We're up to like 5 of them now. In March, we got the first notable Let's Play video for the game from Michael of Rooster Teeth. It now stands at over 10 million views, and I'm not gonna play any of the commentary because it's enough to make even VivziePop shudder. A week later, we got another playthrough from some guy named Penguin Zero, racking up 2 million views. Not sure what he's up to now, but it made me realize that this whole Impossible Game content situation was insane. 'Cause you got me wrapped up in your love. F major? E flat major, so the progression goes like this.
We all hope it won't happen to us, but what if the worst happens? Who can you turn to? InsureMyHouse.ie can help put things right and get you back on track. Feel safe in the knowledge you can fix your premium for up to 3 years with no price increase, even if you claim. With a wide range of discounts and bonus protection available, you can rest assured InsureMyHouse.ie has got you covered. You're in safe hands with InsureMyHouse.ie.
This was probably the height of the Impossible Game's popularity. Critics everywhere were praising it, showcases on YouTube were taking off, and this simple square game was topping charts everywhere. Things obviously slowed down over the next few months, but in April of 2012, we were blessed with a 4th level that didn't really have any special gimmicks aside from abusing the square's jump height a little, but we also got more Rooster Teeth videos and even one from KSI. In September, a Steam Greenlight campaign was launched to finally get the game onto Steam. This just meant that enough people had to show interest in the game before it was approved, which wasn't a challenge at all. Some people were even discussing how they really wanted the ability to make their own levels, and all things considered, that was a great idea. In fact, it was so great that someone else got a little bit inspired. In late 2012, a young solo developer started making his own version of the Impossible Game called the Run-Through. And while it was basically the exact same game, it did have some new levels and effects. It released in early 2013, and I couldn't find a way to get my hands on it, but based on this Let's Play, it does nothing that the Impossible game didn't already do. But it did get expanded into a specialized level editor called Track Development Tool, which caught the attention of some Impossible game players who beta tested it. Anyways, eventually the run-through went into development hell, also known as the creator having school, and it was ultimately scrapped due to being unoriginal, as well as some issues with Game Maker. And you know what? Good, because who in their right mind thinks that they can compete with the Impossible game? This game is simple, but it's perfect, and you would have to be so selfish to think that you have what it takes to copy the game and somehow make it better. I mean, come on, what are you gonna do? Add more levels? Yeah, I'm sure that's gonna work really... Hey, did it get cold in here all of a sudden? In August of 2013, I was rewatching this old guy rage at the Impossible game when I came across something that stopped me in my tracks. A newly released mobile game called Geometry Dash. And from the trailer alone, I knew something was very wrong. This was another copy of the Impossible game, but this time, it wasn't a project by a fan, it was made by someone who was clearly trying to steal it. I mean, even the logo looks exactly the same. It's just jumping to the left instead of the right, which is... Wait, is the Geometry Dash logo also moving right and just finishing a jump? Like, I know it's facing the spike, but... No, I can't be thinking about this right now. Anyways, I decided to do some research into the creator of this game before deciding if it was worth giving $2 to them. And would you believe it? All he does is copy. Before this game, he just launched a reskinned copy of Candy Crush. I could tell by the screenshots alone, because it's not like I'm actually gonna play the game and realize that there's some genuinely clever game design going on in Boomlings that's heavily underappreciated, and sorry, what was I talking about? So this is Geometry Dash, the shameless ripoff of my favorite game that I thought was goofy enough to make fun of for this video. I mean, look at it! Why can't you give your character a face? If you want to be a pro player, you gotta cut the distractions and stick to this one. The biggest surprise for me was that this game has 7 freaking levels, with difficulties ranging from easy to insane. Level 1 made me realize that, yeah, this is just the Impossible game with different art and worse music. It's got an attempt counter in identical practice mode, and the objects even fade in the exact same way. I'm not sure why there's all these different styles of blocks since they're functionally the same and just add clutter to the level. There's also more background colors and some small decorations. It definitely looks better than the Impossible game, but it strikes me as a cheap trick to make the game seem higher quality. Here's a fun little quirk. Halfway through the level, you get in this rocket and start flying. And not only is this obviously plagiarized from the game Jetpack Joyride, but the level doesn't even do anything with it. You just fly down the middle of a super open area with almost no hazards. The level continues with some similar patterns to the Impossible game, including the 3 spike jumps, which are just as evil. I won't go into too much detail, but the other levels actually introduce some more new things. Level 2 has these boosters that bounce you upwards, and Level 3 has these rings which let you double jump, which would have been a cool idea if it wasn't for this stupid bug where clicking before the ring activates it anyways. And then, lo and behold, Level 4 flips the screen just like the Impossible game. The gameplay is really similar, but instead of this awesome song, you just get the kind of music you hear at the gym when you leave your headphones at home. They even copied that one effect from the Impossible game's 3rd level, but the object spawns so far ahead that it defeats the purpose. The whole point was the lack of readability. Overall, these are fine levels. Like, I would enjoy this if it was in the Impossible game, but I'm just mad that they're putting this much effort into a stolen game that's probably just a scam. Which is why I was flabbergasted when I saw that you could make your own levels. In fact, the program to make them was surprisingly easy to learn. But get this, you could upload your levels directly to the game, without needing to download it as a file and share it on a forum or something. At the time I was playing, there were only a couple of levels posted to the game, and they weren't even that interesting. Like this one level called Jump Frenzy was just 5 seconds of simple jumps and then it was over. So maybe letting people make levels was a mistake, and you could only use 7 different songs anyway. I looked around online to see if anyone else was talking about this game, because at this point I was convinced it was just some weird fever dream, and I came across a small forum with a couple people, including the very creator of the game, RobTop. People definitely noticed the similarities to the Impossible game, but when they tried to call him out for it, he was just like, yeah, the influence is definitely there, but I tried to make it more interesting. Influence? Are you saying you could just copy anything and call it influence? Yeah, right. Another guy was like, look, I made a level called Chill Out, and RobTop responded with, sweet, I added it to the featured section. So I took a look in the game, and sure enough, there it was, a full-length, brand new level. This made my blood boil. You're telling me the creator wasn't satisfied with leeching off the Impossible game, so now he's leeching off other people's hard work and paying them with exposure? Now that is crossing the line. So yeah, that's Geometry Dash. This weird copy of the Impossible game that looks different and lets you fly in a rocket. Honestly, the game isn't even that much harder than it. I beat everything surprisingly quickly, and didn't feel like touching the online stuff since those levels are just worse. Now, I thought that was the end of the story, seeing that the Impossible game was still more popular. But to my surprise, I came back a month later to see a new built-in level, and it flips the screen horizontally in like the exact same way that the Impossible game turns you upside down. Have you not stolen enough? Can you not survive a single week without going through withdrawal and stealing from the Impossible game? It's ridiculous. Oh, and to add insult to injury, they dropped a light version of Geometry Dash as well, so you could demo the game for free before deciding if you want to buy it. You know what else had a light version? The Impossible game. I took another look online, and things were actually starting to pick up. The most popular level now had 12,000 downloads, and dozens of new ones were being uploaded every day. The Impossible game needed to do something about this, and fast. But the creator was radio silent. I know he probably didn't want to draw any attention to this embarrassment of a game, but dude, stand your ground! You built an empire! Don't you want another YouTube video from the Penguin guy? More time continued to pass. Zero news about the Impossible game, zero news about that Steam version they promised, and more updates for Geometry Dash. This new one called Cycles had so many 3-spike jumps, and he even transformed into a spinning ball that can flip gravity, like that one game with all the V's in the title. What, now we're stealing from even more indie games? This has to be illegal. And the next new level introduced some gravity-changing stuff, while also looking more cloudy and bubbly. Kinda like Skype, the greatest messaging platform of all time. There was also this new system where beating levels would give you stars so that you can compete with your friends. Harder levels give you more, and you could even get them from a couple people's custom levels. These levels were becoming part of the game, and they just let it happen. Like, what the hell is Demon Park? This level's pretty much impossible, but it actually got rewarded for that by being featured and given a new difficulty called Demon. So I guess this game really is trying to be the impossible game, huh? As 2013 came to a close, so did my faith in humanity. The Impossible game was still more popular than Geometry Dash, but how long would that last? Because it was getting one-upped in every possible way, and development showed no signs of slowing down. But you know what? If the Impossible game was going down, Geometry Dash was going down with it. Because this new game called Flappy Bird just skyrocketed to the top of the App Store, and every human being on the planet was talking about it. Suddenly, jumping square games were so last year. Now it's all about flapping through impossibly tight gaps. You will not believe what Geometry Dash added like